What a dramatic day it was at Roland Garros. Two semi-finals, one which had intensity, determination, and was on a war footing right from the first point. The second witnessed a very strange kind of event, not off the court but on the court. These two events have characterized what will be an epic Roland Garros men's final, and today it is also the women's final. Yes, folks, in the French Open 2022, we have locked our finalists. It's gonna be Rafael Nadal versus Casper Ruud in the men's. In the women's section, it will be Iga Swiatek versus Coco Gauff. Swiatek is on a roll and is eyeing a new world record. If she wins the final, this will not only be her second French Open title, but she will also have 35 consecutive wins, which will break the existing record set by Serena Williams in 2000. I will come to the women's final a bit later, but I will talk about the two semi-finals. The first match between Nadal and Alexander Zverev. It was titanic, to say the least. We all knew that if there was one individual who can halt Rafael Nadal's march to the 22nd Grand Slam title as well as the 14th French Open, it was going to be Alexander Zverev. There were two reasons. One, Alexander Zverev had beaten Carlos Alcaraz in the quarterfinal. Alcaraz was the potential contender for the French Open crown, but with his defeat, we all felt that maybe Alexander Zverev will come into his own. Plus, in the last 5 games against Rafael Nadal, Alexander Zverev had won 3 of them. So you felt that maybe Zverev might do it. The first set was an epic contest. Tiebreaker, Zverev had the chance to seal the deal with 4 set points. But Nadal never say die, and on his favorite clay court, you just cannot afford to give Nadal any kind of chance. Consider this one particular statistic. Prior to the tiebreaker, Nadal had not hit many winners. In the tiebreak, he came up with 2 amazing winners. And on top of that, he also managed to find the net, luckily a couple of times, which meant that the force was with Rafa. So Rafael Nadal managed to win the tiebreaker. In the second set, it was a very, very complicated situation. No one wanted to hold serve. There were breaks at right from the first game itself. 1-1, 2-2. Zverev held serve. He was about to serve out the set at 3-5. But Nadal again broke back. Zverev just couldn't hold serve. In the entire set, only 2 or 3 times the players held serve. And that is why the second set went into the tiebreaker. But calamity struck Alexander Zverev. When he was running to his right to get a forehand winner, he rolled his ankle pretty badly, and the screams and the way in which he rolled his ankle over was very, very painful to see. Rafael Nadal later mentioned that when he went to see Zverev in the locker room, he was crying with the pain. It was a very tough sight to see. So later on, when he came on crutches, the game was over. Alexander Zverev had to withdraw because of that ankle injury, and so Rafael Nadal entered the final. 14-time Grand Slam French Open winner. It might be a possibility now. But who stands in Rafael Nadal's way? From Norway, Casper Ruud. He defeated Marin Cilic in 4 tough sets. After losing the first set 6-3, Ruud put on a tremendous display of tennis and he won the next 3 sets pretty easily. However, in the middle of the third set, there was an event which suspended the game for 15 to 20 minutes. A protester, suddenly running onto the court, chained her neck to the net cord, and play was halted. In her shirt, it was written 1028 days to go. It was an environmental group, one of the members of an environmental group who had come to protest in that match. She had a valid ticket. And that is why play was held up for 15 to 20 minutes as the guards tried to get her out of the stadium. She has been handed over to the police. This incident is not a one-off, folks. If you look at the broader international situation that is happening in Europe, there are big protests over the climate change in that part of the world. Recently in March, the same style of protest was repeated in a football game. Everton versus Newcastle in March 2022 saw a fan run onto the pitch and chain his neck to the goalpost. It took the stewards and it took all the other security personnel plenty of effort to get that individual out. So this is not the first time. And in France, there has been a history of these protests. Recently in the Louvre, just to protest the climate protocols that have been there, because France has been very inactive in it, one protester apparently threw cake at the Mona Lisa painting at the Louvre. This is not the first time that the French Open has seen protests in this way, folks. In 2013, during the final between Rafael Nadal and David Ferrer, one individual ran onto the court and threw a flare. What happened at that time was France had passed the legislation for same sex marriage, which became legal. This guy was protesting against it. So, Nilansh is saying Rudd will win against Nadal. Well, the major statistic that you have to look at it, folks, is that this is the first ever encounter between Casper Rudd and Rafael Nadal. They have never played before, and what a time to play your first encounter. Rudd will be aiming to halt Nadal's brilliance at French Open. Remember, if he wins this, Rafael Nadal will be the 14-time champion at Roland Garros. And he will also have 22 Grand Slam titles, level with Steffi Graf when it comes to titles, both men and women. So, can Rudd really beat Nadal? Well, it is slightly unknown territory because remember, as I mentioned just a couple of minutes back, this is the first meeting between Casper Rudd and Rafael Nadal. Mridul Krishna, well, on the other hand, saying King Nadal will have his 22nd in his bag. We all felt that maybe the only individual who could have stopped Nadal is Alexander Zverev. Because after beating Djokovic, Nadal seemed to be on a different plane altogether. But in that match, you saw you cannot yield an inch to Rafael Nadal. When you make an unforced error, he will make you pay. And he did make Zverev pay. 4 set points Zverev had. He just could not convert it. Rafael Nadal won the set thanks to the tiebreaker. 10-8, he won the tiebreaker. In the second set, Zverev had the chance to serve out the set. But again, he could not hold serve. Nadal just clawed back and made it 6-6. Unfortunately, in the tiebreak, Alexander Zverev injured himself. What is the nature of the injury? Well, it did look pretty bad, and maybe he might be in doubt for Wimbledon. But whether many of the players will play in Wimbledon, we don't know. Rafael Nadal has already hinted that he may not play Wimbledon as he has to nurse his body. Remember, he is really having knee problems, leg problems, as well as back injuries. At the age of 36, Rafael Nadal just turned 36 yesterday. Many people feel that this might be the last time that they see Nadal at the French Open. Whether he'll be back next year is all doubtful, and there's plenty of speculation. So Rudd versus Nadal, it is the ultimate David versus Goliath battle. Nadal is the emperor of clay. Only 3 times he has lost ever in the French Open. Nadal is Nadal, man. There's no one like him. He has just proven why he's the Rupak Devangan has saying. Arijit Roy Singh being a Rafa fan is to if he wins 14 titles, he will have the same number of trophies as Pete Sampras. Rudd being from Rafa Tennis Academy, it's a win-win situation where Vamos, Rafa, Aporla. Arijit Roy, absolutely. Look, everybody is now on the same page when it comes to the GOAT debate. In my honest opinion, I am a Rafa fan, and I have been a fan since 2008 because he has managed to beat Federer in peak Federer time. Of course, he's had his wobbles against Novak Djokovic, but still, he's held his own. On clay, he's lost 7 times to Djokovic, but he's won 20 times against him. So, Rafael Nadal, the dominance that he's established on clay, not just the French Open, you look at Milan, you look at Rome, Barcelona, he's won all of them more than 10 times. I guess it will be a good match in the final. First set is crucial for Rudd. Subodh, I have my doubts whether any set is crucial for Rudd. I think all 3 sets, if it goes to 3 sets, will be crucial. Because we all know Nadal is not going to yield an inch. He is just not going to give up. You will never see Nadal take a back seat. And you saw in the game against Zverev, he did it even against Djokovic. He was standing way back. And that is why the power and the court coverage that he got was simply tremendous. So Nadal is the odds-on favorite. Let us make no doubts about it. We thought Zverev could topple Nadal. He had his moments, but injury just could not allow him to do that. 3 hours, and we just had not even completed 2 sets. Every point was fought as if it was their last championship point. Such was the intensity between Zverev and Nadal. Rafa is better when it matters the most. His head-to-head is 21 in Grand Slam finals combined against Djokovic and Federer. Rupak Devangan, yes. See, statistically, looking at how Nadal performs in all the surfaces, remember he's won 4 US Open titles, 2 Wimbledon, that too 1 Wimbledon title beating peak Federer, and he won his first Australian by beating Federer. in 2021, in 2022 recently, he managed to win the Australian Open for the second time. Thus, he joins Djokovic. There is a separate debate on Djokovic, though. So, Rafael Nadal versus Casper Ruud in the final on Sunday. As far as the women's final is concerned, Iga Swiatek is on the cusp of winning her second French Open title. She had won it in 2020 and she became the first Polish player to achieve this feat. Now, in 2022, she's on the cusp of not just winning the second time, but she's also on the cusp of shattering a world record. If she wins the French Open final, she will have won 35 consecutive matches, and that will beat the previous mark set by Serena Williams. Coco Gauff, on the other hand, she had just wanted to do her graduation, but now here she is in the final at Roland Garros. I mean, what a life Coco Gauff is also leading. On the other hand, if I have to look at this contest, it is Swiatek who is holding all the aces. She has not lost a set for a long time now, and in the last few performances, she's just dismantled opponents. In the semi-final, her performance against Kazatkina was simply phenomenal. Hardly any unforced errors, and it was clinical. Yes, Netra Papadika is saying feel very bad for Zverev. You do have to feel bad for Zverev because you needed to play at 120% intensity against Nadal in the French Open, especially in the semi-final, because in the semi-final only Nadal can be slightly mortal. He's lost 2 out of 3 matches in the French Open in the semi-final. But injury, unfortunately. And yes, Zverev will get his chances. He is one of the best in the business, along with Medvedev and Tsitsipas in that current crop. Thiem might have slightly gone down the pecking order, but Casper Ruud is also upcoming. So yes, what a fight from Zverev against Nadal. Yes, 3 hours. And remember, there were only, not even 2 sets were completed. 7-6, 91 minutes. The second set was also going in that same direction. So the stage is set for the epic clashes. Today, Iga Swiatek will take on Coco Gauff in the women's final. My favorite, I mean, if I have to say who might win the French Open women's title, I will say Iga Swiatek. Netra Papadika, yes, Nadal did acknowledge Zverev that he did push him to the limit. Because Zverev, Subodh, your prediction, I'm saying Swiatek will win the women's title, but in the men's, I will have to give the edge to Nadal. He looks simply to be on a different level altogether. If it was the Australian Open, Wimbledon or US, I might say he might have that one off day. But in the French Open, it never happens. So, Nadal winning the French Open for the 14th time and 22nd Grand Slam title. Coco Gauff will have to really pull off a miracle, and she has to play out of her skin to defeat Iga Swiatek, because remember, Swiatek has got a lot of clean sheets. What's a clean sheet? Not losing a set for a pretty long time. So if Gauff and Ruud will win, well, that will be a new era altogether. Although in the women's tennis, I will not say it might be a new era, because apart from Serena, the rest of the players who win most of the Grand Slams are relatively new. In the men's section, it's always been Novak, Rafa and Roger. If Ruud wins, oh boy, it'll be like one of the greatest ever moments in tennis. Will Rafa play Wimbledon? Souna Ghosh, there are reports that Rafa might not play Wimbledon. Plus, on top of that, now with Wimbledon's status been downgraded because of their stance on the war between Russia and Ukraine, I don't think he will play because there are no ATP points at stake. Arijit Roy, I was worried about Marin Cilic. Big serve and lethal for he had a better chance. Well, Ruud stepped up to the platter, and that is why you see that Casper Ruud is now in the final. He will have to raise his notch to a different level altogether. So, Iga Swiatek versus Coco Gauff today, and on Sunday, the big one, Rafa Nadal versus Casper Ruud of Norway. Thank you so much for watching this live, folks. Stay tuned to Sports Today for all the latest news and updates from the world of sport. We have got you covered on all bases. There's also England versus New Zealand test match, and French Open is at 6 p.m. Press the like, comment and share button, also the bell icon, and we are also there on Facebook platforms. Thank you.